Welcome back to Culver's. This Irish Bill with Seminole Bob. After taking last Tuesday night off and a road trip on Thursday, he is back in the seat, back in the saddle again.
Back in the saddle again.
What a great job by Marty Wilson did filling in for you last week.
Marty did a great job.
And never been on the air before, so that was pretty cool for Marty. He stayed on with me for the whole show. You did hear our song that goes with the place that we're originated just down the road at the Twist. Our name of the show is Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. I started 10 years ago doing my very first show from the Twist down the road. But now we're at Culver's on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. Wednesday nights you'll find us down at Buffalo Wild Wings, just down the road, just down yonder.
Yonder
to the west.
Yeah.
You can just
head that way.
You can go hop on the buggy and have the horse take you on down there. But we had some promising things last week that happened for Navarre. A little bit, as we said all year long, baby steps. There are things that's coming along. The offensive line is starting to gel a little bit. The running game starting to get going with Josh Wilson last week and Keegan Gilbert. And they did a great job running against, especially in the second half, Bob.
Yeah, most certainly. Yep. There were times when, Navarre looked like their old self and just didn't happen. Mosley is definitely the top one or two teams in their district.
Most definitely, and they're in the same district with Niceville, so game's going to be interesting when those two teams meet up a little bit later in the year. This is week 4 of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports, week 5 of the high school football season. Week 5. But only fourth game for Navarre. They'll be hosting Milton this Friday night. It's homecoming night. So also tonight we're going to talk about our Panhandle Power Rankings, our players of the week. We'll go over our high school schedules and college schedules and our predictions. I'll let you know who won last week. And then we're going to go back to our Where Are They Now former Navarre players. Another young man started playing again this past couple of weeks for one of the newer colleges here locally. Lighthouse Christian College is now playing football here in the area. One former Raider is now on that team. They're the Makos. Did you know their mascot name?
Yep.
Makos. So we'll talk about those along with the Gulf South Conference side conference updates. And we always finish it off our show with this guy's rants. And some of them have been downright epic. Don't you think? Maybe not go that far.
It could be a wet rant.
Okay. But Coach Bagley's still looking for his first win. And should be, I think it's a great matchup coming up against Milton. Both teams looking for their first win on the season. Milton 0-4, Navarre 0-3. Should be an interesting matchup as the Panthers come calling to the southern part of Santa Rosa County this Friday night. But well, let's get right back into the recap of last Thursday night's game.
Thursday. Yeah.
What a long day that was, wasn't it? We got back in about 11:30. I got to bed about 12:30, up at 5 o'clock to go. Marty didn't join me for my workout, so I had to do my workout on my own Friday morning. So
I was certainly up, but we were on our way to school, and then we went.
Weren't you just there like a couple hours previous to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's go. The final score last week for Thursday night's game, Mosley wins 36-7. Our Ian Lockwood player of the game, Joshua Wilson. Our offensive player of the game, Connor Hamlin. Our Will Sutter defensive player of the game, Vinny Villanova. And our special teams player of the game, Jack Byer. Here's how the scoring went. The first quarter is 6:44, a 4-yard run by Samuel Chisholm. They go for 2, and it was successful. At the end of 1, it was 8-0 Mosley. At the 8:59 mark of the second quarter, a 13-yard pass from Freitas to Carson Griffin. Maverick Wright with the kick, 15-0 Mosley. And 5:34 mark, a 37-yard run by Locavian Jackson. The 2-point conversion was good as They found their big tight end.
Yep.
And it was 23-0 at the half. There's no scoring in the third. Good defensive presence there for the Raiders in the second half. But Mosley would score at the 11:52 mark, 11-yard run from Jackson, right kick, and it was now 30-0. And a minute 40 later, a 33-yard pass from Freitas to Jaden Sapp. Kick was blocked. 36-0 running clock ensued. The Raiders got on the board for the first time here in 2024 with a 24-yard pass from Owen Marshall to Brody Powers as it was tipped at about the 2-yard line. Brody was Johnny on the spot at the 1, hauled it in, and pranced into the end zone. The Raiders on the board with Byers' extra kick. Your final score, 36-7. Looking back at that game, Bob, what improvements did you see coming out of that game?
Well, I think at times our run blocking looked good. They were giving Marshall more time at times in the passing game. So, like you said, it's our favorite saying now, baby steps. Do baby steps win you football games? Well,
It could in the long run.
yeah, I the old saying, you got to be better than you were yesterday. And that's true in life, and that's true at work, and true in your family life as a husband and father, and for the Navarre Raiders as a football player. And, they're coming together, and, it's not how many games you win, it's which ones you get hot at the right time and look out.
And Navarre still has all 3 of their district games ahead of them with Pace and Tate up first
Crestview.
Next Thursday night, and Crestview. No Milton this year in their district, no Gulf Breeze in their district as they've dropped in classification. If you'd like to call the show tonight, yes, we have that option now, 850-684-8802. Our call-in number is 850-684-8802. If you have a question or you just want to make a statement about anything in sports, it doesn't have to be just about Navarre football, give us a call here, and we'll take your phone call. So on the night, Roman ends up going 6 of 13 for 60 yards and a score. There were 3 receptions to Connor Hamlin, 1 each to Brody Powers, Brandon Estrada, and Jack Helton. On the ground, Wilson with 81 yards on 18 carries. Keegan Gilbert, 47 yards on 8 carries. Keith Danner with a late run there. His only run for 15 yards. Spence with 12 yards on 2 carries. The Raiders on the night, 153 yards rushing, 60 passing, and their best offensive performance of the season, Bob.
Yep.
Over the defensive side of the ball, we're led by sophomore Bryce Wheeler. He finished the night with 11 tackles. Vinny Villanova with 10. Andre Spence with 8 tackles and an interception. That stopped a 1 Mosley drive. Easy Gasca with 8 tackles. Jaden Jones with 7. The freshman in his first start played pretty solid.
Yep.
Cooper Black with 7. Curtis Sanders with 5 and an interception. Bryce Moore 4 tackles. Will Payton 4. Braxton Barr 4. Marquez White with 4. 3 from Matthew Lee. 1 each from Brady Thiessen and Gabe Alonso. 2 quarterback hurries for Brady Thiessen as well. Jason Lute, quarterback hurry, and Yalal Mustafa with a quarterback hurry on the night. And that's the recap of last Friday. I guess I got to quit saying that. We got 2 Thursday night games this year. So last Thursday night in Panama City. And a trip to Cracker Barrel.
That's true.
We were just looking for a place. We're supposed to meet Marty Wilson over in Panama City for dinner, but he met up with some of his Georgia buddies. And so we ended up, you can't go wrong with Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel.
But
it was delicious.
It sure was. And
you broadcast better when you have food in your stomach.
A full belly.
Do you remember?
And we needed it going up and down those stairs all night long.
Do you remember the Rickards game?
Oh, yeah.
Besides the rain?
Yeah.
I was getting hangry.
And our good friend, what are we going to call? We got to give him a name.
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean. Okay, we'll keep with Mr.
BC
Mr. Clean took care of us that night with Chick-fil-A.
BC Villanova. BC
BC.
Paul.
Yeah. I think Mr. Clean.
Patriot Paul.
We'll stick with Mr. Clean. That's nice and clean.
It's whatever the witness protection program calls him.
So on the season, Andre Spence leading the Raiders with 121 yards on 31 carries. Roman Marshall 10 of 21 for 87 yards and a score. Receiving, Connor Hamlin 3 for 25 yards. Brody Powers with the only touchdown of the season. Marquez White averaging 23 yards a kickoff return, 45 his longest, and he's also their leading punt returner at 12.5 yards per punt return. On the season for our defense, Vinny Villanova leading the way with 28 tackles. Bryce Wheeler with 22.5. Easy Gasca, easy. 17.5, 15 each for Rowan Strom. And I didn't even notice that he didn't even play last week, Bob.
Who's that?
Rowan Strom.
Yeah. He was injured.
Curtis Sanders with 15 as well. Vinny Villanova leading the way with solo tackles with 28. Assisted tackles led by Easy Gasca and Marquez White with 7 each. Sanders and Spence with an interception, one interception each. One caused fumble for Vinny Villanova. The only 3 turnovers that the Raiders defense have forced on the season. 2 sacks, 1 each for Rowan Strom and Braxton Barr. Tackles for losses, Rowan Strom with 5. And your quarterback hurries leader, Bryce Wheeler, Braxton Barr, and Will Payton and Brady Thiessen with 3 each. Your big hits, 5 each from Curtis Sanders and Cooper Black. And your extra bones leader is Easy Gasca with 12.
Yeah, we had 2 interceptions in the ball game, and I thought our defense, yes, it was a running clock. Third down killed us. Third down, I don't know what their third down conversions were, Bill, but you knew it was going to be their quarterback.
7 of 9. 7 of 9 on the night.
You knew their quarterback was going to run the ball, and he's such a threat.
Yeah, he's probably one of the better quarterbacks that we're going to see all year.
Most definitely.
We've seen some good ones. We started out week 1 with Ryan Huff from Catholic. I mean, week 2, we face off with a backup, but he had a good night against us. And then this past week, probably the best quarterback that we've seen so far, and Sammy Freitas. And I'm not sure what Milton has coming in. They've been struggling on offense as well. But we got good quarterbacks coming up in our schedule ahead as well. Scambia's got a couple of good quarterbacks. Crestview, I really haven't been following Crestview as much. I know they're solid on the defensive side of the ball. But speaking of other scores from last week, other Thursday night game, Booker T. Washington beat Fort Walton Beast 22-0. On Friday, Pace 55, Gulf Breeze 0, Pine Forest 20, and Choctaw 14, a game I was at on the sideline. It's different watching the game from the sideline than from up in the booth. You see all the hitting, you hear all the smack talking going on. I mean, it was a great game other than the penalties and the turnovers. Choctaw turned it over 4 times and twice inside the 10-yard line, 1 in the end zone. And then they miss a 38-yard field goal at the end of regulation, and Pine Forest wins in overtime 20-14. Niceville over Crestview 35-14. Tate over Milton 30-14. Escambia over Bay 30-29 in overtime. Catholic found their offense a little tough to go last week. No yards rushing in their 28-14 loss to Montgomery Catholic. Pensacola 20, Destin 7. Walton 48, West Florida 21. South Walton 21 got their first win on the season over Arnold, 21-13. Rickards 14, Chiles 7. Florida High over South Broward, 27-6. Coffee, Georgia over Gadsden County, their first loss of the season, 27-14. Godby over Suwannee, 29-26. Taylor County remains unbeaten. One of the surprises going into the 2024 season, they beat North Florida Christian 56-0 last week. Mariana keeps up the high-scoring offense, 49-0 over Bozeman. Holmes County over Rutherford, 34-19. Jay over Baker. Not surprised that Jay won, but the margin of victory, 41-0.
I agree. Yep.
IMG Academy White over St. John Paul II. They got a lead early in the first half, but IMG Academy White rolled on in the second half over St. John Paul II. Chipley stays unbeaten as they beat Vernon 18-0. Cottondale all over Freeport, 64-22. Sneads over FAMU, 25-6. Madison County over Columbia in a tight one, 18-13. Osceola Christian over Duval Charter, 52-12. McClay over Valwood, 2019. Lighthouse over Bell Creek Academy, 52-14. Northview over Central, 40-0. Jefferson County, 28. North Bay Haven, 0. And a game that was rescheduled for last night from Friday night. Liberty County loses to Franklin County in a close one, 35-28. The reason that they moved the game from Friday to Monday is the events of the Liberty County Port St. Joe game. Chance Gaynor collapses on the field, eventually passes, and so Coach Tranquil decided to move the game to after the services on Saturday, so that they could, not that they're going to be totally focused on the game on Monday, but to allow for all the events that occur which went on this past week.
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead now and make our first commercial break of the night. This Irish Bill's Twist on Sports with Seminole Bob. We'll be back after this commercial break.
To everyone who loves Culver's, the feeling is mutual. I'm Nicole from Culver's of Cross Plains, Wisconsin. And when I'm serving you a Butterburger, I'm just as happy as you are. I almost get giddy when I hear the sizzle of our fresh beef on the grill. Seeing that smile that comes from a meal made just right, some call it magic, but I like to call it love at first bite. Stop in for a cook-to-order Butterburger and let us make Culver's your happy place.
From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
Navarre Fitness is where old school meets new. Whether you're into free weights or the latest and greatest weightlifting equipment, they will meet your needs. They have cardio machines as well if you want to get your sweat on. Whatever direction you decide to go, trainers Clay Horton, Brick Grubbs, Andrew Coase, and Stephanie Hunt will be there to assist you along the way. So what are you waiting for? Oh yeah, how do I join? Just go to navarrefitness.net and check out our rates or call us at 850-816-5434. You can even stop by our location at 8700B Navarre Parkway in Navarre. You can also visit our sister gym, Midway Fitness, at 5660 Gulf Breeze Parkway, Unit 1. Both facilities are open 24/7. We are the place to go to get you started on the road to a better you. University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. A buying, building, or refinancing a dream home is in your future. You need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes, Stacy Wright, and Sheila Billingham are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or refinancing experiences smooth. So University Lending at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call us at 850-396-0322.
Sometimes all you need to change your life is a sign. Like an actual sign that's like above you. And no, I don't love B-dubs just because I'm a buffalo with wings. Frankly, that's offensive and reductionist. It's like they made beer into a place and gave that place sports and chicken wings. And the people, the best.
Marty! You're dead weight!
Yeah, this place is kind of like heaven. You know, without needing to get hit by a bus.
Let's go sports bar!
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
The Hustle isn't named after anyone. Not after a designer, definitely not after a mythological god. It's not about stripes or ranking or status. The Hustle is real. The Hustle is about you. So keep in mind when you're repping and rocking Hustle Hard USA streetwear,
You can tell all the onlookers that this mark, this brand represents your hustle, your grind. You put in that time, that sweat, that pain. Now it's up to you to show them all what you got. Win or lose, the hustle is real. Go to www.hustlehardusa.com, and I can guarantee you, you will not be disappointed.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me. Land spreading out so far and wide. Keep Manhattan, just give me that countryside.
New York is where I'd rather stay. I get allergic smelling hay. I just adore a penthouse view. Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue.
The chores.
That's doors.
Fresh air.
Town Square.
You are my wife.
No, I'm not.
Goodbye, city life.
Green Acres, we are there.
Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. This is week 4, week 5 of the high school football season here in the state of Florida. I'm Irish Bill. Joining me back in the saddle again tonight, Seminole Bob.
Back in the saddle.
When are your Seminoles going to get back in the saddle?
Emerald Coast playing at Walton Middle School as we speak, so I excused myself and told them good luck, and I had things to do. I had to be with my buddy.
Yeah, we're glad to.
Villanova.
We're glad to have you back in the saddle once again. And you know what time it is? Irish Bill's Panhandle Power Rankings for Week 4. You large teams: Niceville, Mosley, Tate, Choctaw, Escambia, Payson, Pine Forest back in there. Your small schools: Catholic, Mariana, Chipley, Jay, Lunchtown, Walton, and Baker. Your offensive player of the week for the second time this season for the Walton Braves, Wells Bettenhausen. Your defensive player from Booker T. Washington, B.J. Johnson. And your special teams player of the week, Walton Braves, Braden Sampson. Those are your Irish Bill's Panhandle Power Rankings and our players of the week for Week 4. I like that drum roll. That
That win by Pine Forest was huge. Choctaw was up, ninth in their classification. Really banging on all cylinders. And, Tony was a finalist for that Choctaw job.
He was.
And Frank
Beasley.
Frank Beasley got the job, and so a little bit of revenge.
Which he came back. He was not actually coaching when he got the job. He was on the board with the FHSAA and got hired back. He is an alum of Choctaw. And I think that was end up being the difference in the end was that he was a Choctaw alum. But I got a chance to talk with Tony and Dwayne Friday night before the game, and I want to talk about the job that Tony is doing out there. When he took that program over last year, they had 37 players that were ineligible due to grades. That's a big tasking. I talked to him at Nick Brom's wedding, and he told me his goals and everything going into that job was before his first year of coaching. And going into this summer, getting ready to start the 24 season, you know how many kids he has ineligible now for grades? 0.
Wow.
What a job he's done. He's creating a atmosphere at Pine Forest and stressing the importance of academics. That will take you a lot farther than most of these young men than football will. But what a great job Tony's doing out there at Pine Forest High School. You may not see it on the field at times, but I know and you know the type of character that man has, and he wants nothing the best for all those young men that he coaches out there at Pine Forest. And I got to watch that game up close and personal on the sidelines, and quite a game it turned out to be. But congratulations, Coach Carter, on your big win last Friday night in the upset over Choctaw, because Choctaw was unbeaten going into that game.
And may not lose another game.
May not.
Although they do have to face.
They got to. Actually, they've already played Niceville.
Yep.
So actually, Choctaw Niceville is probably one of our feature games coming up this week. But Pine Forest, they got Escambia, I believe, on their schedule, which will be a tough one for them. But
Escambia plays at Mosley for their homecoming, and hold the phone. Mosley's playing on a Friday night.
Wow. After back-to-back weeks on Thursday? Wow. But here's what Wells Bettenhausen did for Walton last week. 13-19, 364 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And he also contributed a rushing touchdown as well in the Braves' 48-21 win over West Florida. Booker T. Washington's B.J. Johnson produced 14 tackles, a tackle for loss, and a sack in the Wildcats' second win on the season, 22-0 win over Fort Walton. And back with Walton, he not only had a good night kicking, but this was his night kicking. Walton's place kicker Braden Sampson had a perfect night as he went 6 for 6 on extra points and 2 for 2 on field goals in the Braves' 48-21 win. And he also produced 10 tackles on the night. Actually, no, he did not play defense. He actually plays offense as he had 3 receptions for 117 yards, 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns. So every time he touched the ball,
I can do that math.
He scored, sort of like the game that Nate Hansen had last year. 3 times he touched the ball. And so not only did he have 3 touchdowns, so add another 12 points in the kicking department. So he scored 30 of Walton's 48 points last Friday night. We had some other great games. South Walton got their first victory, as we talked about earlier. J.D. Brown passed for 189 yards and a score. Also had a rushing TD. Cottondale's Cameron Odom, 3 for 3. Speaking of 3 for 3, 184 yards, 3 touchdowns for him, and all 3 of his passes went for scores. He also had 111 yards on 6 carries and a score. Mosley Sammy Freitas, we got to see him up close and personal. 178 yards passing, 2 scores, and 80 yards on the ground. Speaking of going back to Walton, 3 receivers over 100 yards last week for Walton. Dominic Goodwin with 122 yards, Braden Sampson with 117, and I love this name, Drayden Bembo. 3 receptions, 106 yards. Our leading ground carry, not a whole lot of yards on the ground this past week. Sneed's Pius Reed, 22 carries, 138 yards, 4 touchdowns. And Northview's Moses De La Rosa, 12 carries, 124 yards, and 3 scores. Our defensive leaders, also with 14 tackles, beat Booker T. Washington's Colby Saladino with 14 tackles and a tackle for loss. Catholic's Nigel Nelson pitched in 13. Washington's Darius Murphy with 12. Arnold's Evan Pickford with 12 as well. Special teams, Booker T. Washington's Evan MacArthur, 3 for 3 on field goals this past week. And Pace's Caleb Nelson went 7 for 7 on extra points last week. It just never seems to amaze me the talent that we have here in the Panhandle, Bob.
Is the running game in high school football beginning to be a thing of the past?
I know we still got running backs around here like A.G. Floyd out at Pensacola.
Oh, absolutely.
You got Connor Matthews over at Niceville. You got the backs. I mean, what surprised me last week is Catholic, but the running game that they have, we have not really seen it here in 2024 as they've gone more to the pass with
and they
Ryan
have a
Huff.
veteran. Catholic has a veteran offensive line. Niceville, they'll have Johnny Lewis, E.J. Love, Connor Matthews. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And J.J. Lewis doing a great job over there at Niceville right now.
I haven't seen them in action, just clips. This could be the year for Niceville.
Well, it's definitely in the latest media poll. I had Niceville ranked third in their classification, Class 5A. They dropped down to 5A this year. Luckily, we don't have to play them in district play this year. But now it's time to get to our picks, Bob. I know you've been waiting for this, haven't you?
Man, what's the
southern
term?
You struggled a little bit,
What's
my friend.
the southern term? I was sorry.
You were wallowing in the mud last week.
Man, it was a weekend to forget. The Packers did win barely. Buffalo won barely. My second favorite team, Notre Dame, and college, they won handily.
They won, but they lost 3 starters in that game. 2 offensive linemen and a defensive lineman they lost in that game as well.
Yeah, Notre Dame could go into any classroom and pull out offensive linemen.
My biggest question in that game, though, how can you one week you can't find the end zone? You can't smell the chalk at the goal line to get into the end zone. And then you throw up 66 against a Purdue team that's better than Northern Illinois. I'm sorry, they are better than Northern Illinois. 66-7. It just that blows my mind. So last week Joe wins again. Go figure. Pick Wizard 23-3. I'm a game back 22-4. Paul was tied with me at 22-4. And this guy, like his college team, struggled a little bit again. He went 16-10.
That was high school, right?
That was high school. So
yeah,
overall,
there were some surprises. I think a lot of us picked Choctaw to win.
All of us picked Choctaw to win.
Yeah.
And all of us picked Fort Walton Beach to win as well.
I picked Navarre. I picked Fort Walton.
Yeah, you took.
Yeah, I started out Friday night.
We all 3 of us picked Arnold, and they lost to South Walton. So it was a little bit of a struggle last week, but we got games. Time for redemption. It's same for your Seminoles this week. This is the week of redemption for Seminole Bob.
God, I hope so. Hey, Bill Hamill.
Yes.
You know what's worse than watching your favorite team lose on TV?
Being there. And you were there, weren't you?
I was there.
You know, fortunately, I've been to 4 Notre Dame games, and they've won all 4. And 2 of those are against their Seminoles.
Were you quiet in the Hamill household?
We were the last one. We were
during the Wisconsin-Alabama game. Well, that was another. Well, that was college.
That was not really.
I picked Wisconsin to upset Alabama. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah. Well, it didn't help that Wisconsin lost their quarterback in the first quarter to a season-ending ACL tear. So he's out for the year, Van Dyke, but he's out. But honestly, I left at halftime because I had my massage Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. So it's probably good timing to not be in the same house with the Badger girl in the second half of that game. But let's get back to our high school picks for this week. We got 2 Thursday night games again, Leon at Fort Walton Beach and Chipley at Jay. All of us are going with Fort Walton Beach and Jay on Thursday night. Milton at Navarre, all of us going with the Raiders to get their first win on the season. Then we have Booker T. Washington going to Gulf Breeze.
Did you mention the Jay game, Bill?
I did. What a game last week. 41-0 over Baker.
Yeah.
Booker T. Washington at Gulf Breeze. You're the only one that's taking the Dolphins at home. Choctaw at Niceville. All of us going with the Eagles. Pace travels into the Tide State. Speaking of Tide, welcome Deborah and Tim Keene checking in tonight. Paul's taking Andalusia. We got to see them a few years back during the COVID year. The rest of us are going with Pace. Pace playing well right now. Pine Forest goes to Catholic. This should be a really good game Friday night. All of us going with the Crusaders at home, but don't be surprised if the Eagles pull an upset there. Were you leaning?
I was.
Not on the fence, but as far as taking that game.
No, got to go with the Catholics.
Okay. Escambia at Mosley. It's going to be a good homecoming for the Dolphins at home, should be. So they take on the Gators. Tate goes to West Florida. We're all going with the Aggies on the road.
Yep.
Lincoln going into Georgia, taking on Ware County.
Where is it?
I have no idea.
Ware County.
Where?
That was actually a joke.
I know it was.
We looked it up. Ware County has played teams in the Panhandle before.
Yeah. So we're all going with the Trojans looking really strong here early on. And they're having a good year. They're undefeated so far. Rutherford takes on Arnold. Rutherford's struggling this year. Arnold looks to get some more points on the board. We're all taking the Marlins at home. Godby at Childs. Bob going with the home team in this one. The rest of us going with Godby. Florida High at South Walton. South Walton got their first win last week. Unfortunately, they're playing now a Florida High team that is playing much better.
Playing at Emerald Coast Middle School because their stadium is being renovated.
I can't wait to see that when it gets
Walton
done.
Is. And so
that's a haul, though. The first time I went out there a few years ago, I was like, dang, this is a haul. You're just off of 331, right? High school is just
correct. Yep.
You take a left off of 98, and it's just down the road on the left. Florida High, we're all going with the Seminoles on the road. Gadsden County going to Seminole County, Georgia. Paul's going with Seminole County. The rest of us are taking Gadsden County in that one. Ricker's going to Colquitt County, Georgia. That's just across the Florida-Georgia line. We're all going with the Colquitt County team. I'm not sure what their mascot is. Do you remember what their mascot is? I'm not sure. Anyways, not important. North Bay Haven at Baker. We're all going with the Gators to get back in the winning column this week. Bay goes to Madison County, fresh off that win over Columbia last week.
Yeah.
You got a rural school facing a 6A team. They don't care who they play. They're sort of like the Seminoles back when Bobby Bowden got hired. They were playing everybody.
My teacher friend Jeff Skipper, who has coached at Mosley and a number of schools, he coached a good number of the Mosley players when they were in middle school.
So you guys can call in tonight. The number is 850-684-8802. We'll take your questions, or if you just got a comment for us, give us a call. We've only had one caller so far in the first 3 weeks. That was our good friend Joe Settle in the week one. But if you feel froggy, just jump.
Getting back to the story with Jeff, we were at lunch today. Dead silence, and all of a sudden he goes to the table. Madison County in football will play anybody. And I looked up and goes, you're right. Just out of the blue. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Kind of ironic. And they will play anybody, and they've beat about everybody. And it's a very small school out in the middle. Basically, there's no other schools out there around them. And the program that's been run, those young men have grown up in that program, and they have produced some great football players that have gone on to play at Florida State. Chris Thompson years ago, the McDaniel kid,
that's a
defensive lineman.
Bill. It really is.
Just a great program from a little rural school in North Central.
It's a K-12 school. Yeah. And so, like you said, you literally grow up in the program watching Bluntstown play.
You mean Madison County? Bluntstown?
What's that?
Bluntstown. You said Bluntstown.
Yeah.
So they play Bluntstown.
Who's that?
They played Bluntstown a couple of years ago in the state finals, Madison County.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And that wasn't much of a that was a scoring fest that was won by Madison County. Next, we're going to move over to Mariana. Mariana looking strong with 4-star running back Amari Clemens. They are 4-0 on the season. They'll probably make it 5-0 against the W.S. Neal out of Bruton, Alabama this week. Taylor County goes to Bluntstown. Why did I stop my picks there for Paul? I'll look those up, but I'm pretty sure that Paul is taking his. Let me get my pen here. On-air production here. Bring up my text from Paul here, so I read them right here.
On-air production.
Don't you gotta love it?
Talks amongst yourself. By the way, Tim Kane says Roll Tide.
Does he?
Yeah.
He is going with Taylor County in that one. Next, we move on to Northview at Holmes County. Northview fresh off 40-0 win of Central. The Holmes County having a good season so far, and we are all going with Holmes County in that one. Cottondale Lighthouse put a 64 spot last week.
Yeah.
And that was not pretty at all.
I don't think they're going to do that against Cottondale.
Lighthouse put up 52, so Cottondale put up 64. So we could either have a slugfest or we could have a shootout. And that one, all of us going with Cottondale in that one. Port St. Joe at Destin. Joe and I.
That was a tough one.
It was. And three of us going with Port St. Joe. Bob, the lone guy, going with Destin. The Sharks. FAMU going to Wakulla. Should be a.
Is that the Sharks and the Sharks?
Tiger Sharks against the Sharks.
Yeah. A Shark Fest.
As long as we don't have a Sharknado.
It's Shark Week.
Is it?
Oh.
Oh. So we're all going with Wakulla in that. The War Eagles over FAMU. Franklin County at Rocky Bayou. Franklin County 4-0. They haven't won 4 games in the last 3 years.
Right.
4-0. What a turnaround they've got going on down there. And they're coming over to Rocky Bayou. Rocky Bayou is kind of a hot and cold team this year. They're 2-2 on the season, I believe. And we're all going with Franklin County in that one. Vernon at Freeport. Freeport was that team that suffered the 64-22 loss to Cottondale last week.
Which Freeport team's going to show up?
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We're all going with Freeport in that one. Jefferson County having a turnaround season as well at Weewa. We're all going with Jefferson County. North Florida Christian, it sounded like they packed up the bus early on this year, and they're going over into, I believe Valwood is in Georgia. And we're all going with Valwood in that one. And then our last game is Bozeman at Sneeds. Joe's going with Bozeman in the upset, and the rest of us are going with Sneeds. Bless you.
Bozeman lost a lot of kids in the transfer portal.
Over to Arnold mainly.
Transfer portal.
Yeah, high school.
Did I just say that?
You said that, didn't you?
But they did lose a lot of kids.
Honestly, I still don't like it. I am old school, and it's just, you know what, you play where you grew up. I know we got a lot of military around here and everything that move all the time, but to me, growing up in northeastern Indiana, our rival was DeKalb. I went to East Noble High School. If any of our guys were to go play for DeKalb, they would have never been allowed back in town. All friendoms just would cease.
And the only time you change teams is if your dad changed jobs,
right,
and moved yonder.
But I still don't like it. I mean, the young men make up their minds. That's their decision. I'm not upset with the kids. I was upset with the system.
Exactly.
And thank you, Florida, for passing a legislation years ago to allow this. Then the FHSA backed it up, and I still don't care for it. But enough of that. Let's move on over to our college picks.
Dun, dun, dun.
I actually won last week. I went
Saw
21-5. You were in second with 26. Not too shabby there, Robert.
Yep.
Joe 19-7. Yes, he is human. And Paul pulled up the truck at 17-9. On the season, I'm 62-15. Bob, you're 3 games back at 59-18. Joe's 58-19, and Paul 54-23 on the season. The upsets last week, we all went with Kansas. They blew a big lead against UNLV. Thinking of other games, all of us took Florida State. Looking down here, South Carolina. I thought I was looking pretty. I was the only one to take the Gamecocks last week, and they looked good early on, but they just said, "Here, Brian Kelly, come take this." So LSU wins on the road. I don't know if it's an upset because LSU was favored in that one. The Gators decided not to show up again, and we took everybody took Florida in that one.
Yeah, I don't understand what is worst, what Napier did or what Mike Norvell has done.
We were talking about this at the first commercial break. Do you think that either one of these guys, if one of them is really, really on the hot seat, which one do you think will be going
no
first?
No doubt, Napier. You have a 5-star that gets you a win, throws for.
So why do you start Graham Mertz
3
then?
bills, and you start Graham Mertz.
You know what? Everybody was fooled by Mertz coming in last year because the SEC wasn't familiar with him. But I told everybody, I said, he is a sheep in wolf's clothes. I watched him 3 years at Wisconsin. He struggled mightily. I knew eventually that he was going to go back to the Graham Mertz that I thought he was going to be. And I, too, believe that Billy Napier, if he makes it through the season, which I don't think he will, if they go into a losing streak, but if not, at the end of the year, they have already gathered enough ching-ching to pay his way out.
They were talking about it as early as this past yesterday. But,
And congratulations goes out to Pac-12 Dave as Washington State wins the Apple Cup this past week. We all went with Washington in that one. Troy looked good in the first half against Iowa. They had the lead at halftime. Iowa comes back and runs away with that one. Other upsets, Kentucky almost had one late Saturday night, 13-12 Georgia over Kentucky. UCF comes back from down big and pulls out a 35-34 win. You and I took UCF. Thank you very little.
That a baby.
Colorado all over Colorado State. I can't say I am from Indiana, but I'm not an Indiana football fan. But they went out to the Rose Bowl and laid a big number on UCLA.
They call them crooked numbers.
42-13. And then Tennessee, they send out the cheerleaders in the second half, and they kicked 2 field goals in a 71-0 win over Kent State. So, you ready for this week's games?
I am.
Looks like we got a lot of chalk. We got a couple of different ones, but for the majority, we do have mostly chalk. We got Friday night game, Stanford at Syracuse. We're all going with the orange in that one. I'm sure they won't turn on the AC in the Carrier Dome this week. So we're all going with the Orangemen there.
Yeah, you can watch that at 7 o'clock or 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN.
If you're home on Friday night, but we're going to be at the high school football game.
I have.
Illinois at Nebraska. This should be a good game. Both teams undefeated. Nebraska should win this one. We're all going with the Huskers at home.
Yep.
San Jose State, the Spartans, if I remember right.
Yes.
They're going to Washington State, to Pullman. All of us going with the newly found offense of the Cougs of Washington State.
That's 8 p.m., and if you can find it, the CW channel, whatever that is.
CW. Okay, then we got our Saturday games kicking off. NC State at Clemson. They found their offense again. We're all going with the Tigers in that one. Charlotte, the 49ers, going to Indiana and Bloomington. We're all going with the Hoosiers to go 4-0. Marshall at Ohio State, no contest there, all with the Buckeyes. Florida at Mississippi State. Paul's going with the home team, the Bulldogs. The rest of us going with Florida. What kind of spread do we have there in that Florida game?
5.5. It's all those others are noon games, Eastern time. Florida Mississippi State game, you can find it on ESPN and ESPN Plus.
Next, we've got you got some more info on that one.
Sorry,
you got some more info on the Florida game.
Yep.
Okay, then we got Kansas going to West Virginia. You go with the Mountaineers. I'm going with Kansas to bounce back after their loss last week to UNLV. Then we go Virginia at Coastal Carolina. Paul's taking the Chanticleers. The rest of us are going with Virginia. Arkansas State at Iowa State, all going with the Cyclones. Georgia Tech at Louisville. This should be a pretty good game.
Yeah, Louisville's favored by 16.5. 3:30 game Eastern on ESPN2.
Next, we're going to head over to Auburn on the Plains as they host Suey. I know that wasn't very good. That wasn't very good, was it?
Which Auburn team is going to show up?
The one that got beat by Cal at home or the one that played last week?
Yep.
We're all going with the Tigers, the War Damn Eagle at home. Okay, we got Miami of Ohio, another MAC team going to Notre Dame. I don't think they'll have as much luck as the first MAC team did going in there. But Notre Dame has starting to have some controversy brewing at quarterback. Riley Leonard last week, I know the game plan changed for him in a lot of runs. He did well on the ground. Once again, did not throw a touchdown pass in his third straight week. Steve Angeli, the one that's been there since he's a junior now, is the backup, and he's closing the margin pretty close. So, but right now it's still Riley Leonard at the helm for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Kent State, after giving up 71 last week, goes to Happy Valley. I don't think those will be so happy this week as they face off with Penn State. The Nittany Lions favored by what, like 30?
48.5.
Wow.
3:30 p.m. Eastern on the Big Ten Network.
That's in Happy Valley. All of us going with the Nittany Lion there. UCLA, after losing to Indiana, have no chance going into Baton Rouge. We're all going with the
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Coach.
How's it going, Bill?
Coach O, it was great to finally hear from you last Wednesday night over at Buffalo Wild. How do you like Buffalo Wild Wings over there?
Oh, man, I love their wings. I love their wings.
Do they serve Red Bull? Or are you backing away from Red Bull?
I'm backing away. I got sick last week, Bill.
From Red Bull?
No.
Too much Red Bull?
Wild Wings.
Oh.
Not because I ate anything bad. They ran out of Red Bull.
Ran out of Red Bull.
And I had to drink water.
What? I know you don't drink a whole lot of water.
Me, this Cajun. Hey, Bill.
You got UCLA this week, Coach.
What's that?
You got UCLA this week, LSU.
Upper Crestview, Lower Alabama?
Yeah.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
My name's being mentioned down in Hogtown. You know that.
Do you want to come back and coach? Or are you happy with doing what you're doing now?
Oh, I hear those young ladies in Gainesville are pretty.
Yeah, you're getting up there in age a little bit, Coach.
Nah.
Or is age just a number? Is
say,
age just a number to you?
Yeah. I'll save Notre Dame for Urban. But I just came in and got me Culver's.
I know you've been eyeing that TV over there that's showing all that custard.
Of the day, yeah, man. And, I'm going to have me a flavor of the day in a minute. But I want to.
Is she blonde? Is she blonde?
Yeah, I'm gonna order a bucket.
Our redhead. What's your flavor of the day, Coach?
Hey, but them Bruins. You know what a Bruin is, right, Bill?
Yeah, that's what you do when you're making whiskey, isn't it? You're brewing.
Bill, that's pretty funny. A Bruin is a bear, Bill.
Oh, I kind of figured.
Not B-R-E-W, brew.
Brewin. That type of Bruin,
Bruin. Yeah.
or is it Bruin?
Yeah, well, all I could say is
Our audience didn't know that they were going to get a English lesson tonight, but I don't know if what you're saying is really English or not.
well, Bill, it's always good to see you.
You as well, Coach. We
got
missed
your,
you.
You got your Notre Dame play like a champion. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, man. I like that as much as I like Red Bull.
And Redheads.
Red Bull. So,
Coach, are you going anywhere this week? Are you going to watch any games? You going to go to the LSU game, or you kind of stay away from Baton Rouge now that you're no longer coaching?
I'm welcoming Baton Rouge and the tailgates.
I heard they start like on Friday morning for Saturday night game.
Yes, sir. Bill, I want to know who in the world but ABC would schedule a game at LSU not at noon, not at 2:30, but 3:40.
3:40.
3:40 Eastern. And
that's the refrigerator's weight when he played with the Bears.
I guess it's ABC. That's not ABC Liquors. That's American Broadcasting Company. But anyway, them Tigers are favored by 22.5.
Wow. I guess that's why we're all picking them to win this week then, Coach.
Probably. But anyway, I'll get out of here, let you know.
And make sure you grab a custard on the way out.
I'm going to get me a custard or 2 or 10. All I can say is go Tigers.
Go Tigers. I still won't say that, Ken. I'm not going to say what the Bama thing. Tim, I'm not going to say it.
Roll Tide.
You can say it all you want.
Hey, Tim.
Welcome back. Did you catch Coach O?
I did.
He's looking good, isn't he?
He won't be looking so good after all the custard he's about to eat. We don't have any Georgia games this week.
We do not. Georgia is actually.
We don't have any Alabama games.
Well, we do have a Georgia game. We got Georgia Tech.
What's that?
Georgia Tech at Louisville. Not Georgia, but Georgia Tech.
Georgia Bulldog. You know that
they
are
they off
that
this
won
week?
13-12.
And they dropped in the rankings too, to number 2.
That.
Texas is the new number 1 ranked team,
led by
Arch Manning.
Speaking of quarterback controversies,
ooh, how bad was yours hurt?
The quarterback whisperer too. Yeah. Alabama's off this week. Georgia's off this week. Guess who plays next week?
I would say those 2 teams. Georgia, Alabama at Alabama?
I think it's at Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
I'm already thinking about my pick for that game.
Alabama looked pretty good against the Badgers last week.
They're a different Alabama team, Bill.
They haven't missed a step.
They're more loose. They do stuff, and Coach Saban was hand the football to the official, or you'll be running goalposts. You start at one goalpost and you run to the other goalpost and touch it and run back.
Yeah, Deborah, I'm not going to say it. Come on.
Saban, that was not Saban that's not what Saban did. You see the kids now on the sidelines for Alabama doing all kind of things and dances and stuff. Different's not wrong, baby. I mean, what did Al Davis say?
And look at his record, his overall record. He's only lost 12 games in his coaching career. I mean, Kalen DeBoer, that was a perfect hire for Alabama. That will remain to be seen. He hasn't won the big one yet.
We could see an Alabama-Texas contest,
ooh.
Bill.
That would be one heck of a game.
And They've got 12 teams in the playoffs. Notre Dame could have a say in that, too.
They got to run the table.
Huh?
If they get a second loss, they're done.
Probably. I think there's just too many good one-loss and no-loss teams this year that a two-loss team probably won't get in. Could, but just remember, in this first year of the 12-team playoff, if you do it once, that's a precedent.
Ohio State discarded Kyle McCord, and he is now playing at Syracuse, and he has the Orangemen undefeated. Would that not be appropriate if Syracuse makes a run, makes the playoffs, and has to go against Ohio State, Kyle McCord against his former team?
Well, I know who's not going to be in the playoffs.
We'll go there a little bit later in the show. Let's get back to our picks. We got USC at Michigan. Paul going with the Wolverines at home. They haven't proven enough to me yet. The rest of us going with USC. Vanderbilt suffered a loss to Georgia State last week, and now they got to go to Missouri. No win there for the Vandy boys. Missouri all over that one. TCU at SMU. We're all going with the road team in this one. TCU. No SMU. What's SMU?
What's smooth? Guess who Florida State plays next week?
They face the Cal Bears this week. The California Bears,
but next
Golden
week.
Bears. Next week,
following week,
they will play. I think Clemson. Is it Clemson?
They're playing in Dallas against SMU.
SMU. What's SMU?
Yeah,
Not much.
That's what they may be saying.
California at Florida State. We all think that the Seminoles will get their first win, but we thought that last weekend too against Memphis.
I almost picked Cal. Cal's going to have their running back back. They're 3-0. They did beat Auburn.
21-14.
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Geez, that was tough to watch at times.
I did not watch it.
Yeah. So, we'll see. Coach Norvell is sticking with DJ Ukulele. And, yeah, really. All I can say is, give me a hammer. Give me a wrench. Get Brock Glenn off the bench.
That's
Brock,
pretty good. Did you create that, or did you hear that somewhere?
Brock must not be having good practices. I was thinking, well, maybe they would put in, special sets or special series and a running down. But by golly, Coach Atkins will be back.
I heard that.
Offensive line coach.
That's good news, isn't it?
Yeah, he's
been
he's coming off a suspension, and a just cause with the NCAA never looks good on a resume. Even though Coach Norvell has the final say, Coach Atkins is a very hands-on, and that's probably an adjective in a job description for every offensive line coach. Very hands-on, very he really works with the offensive line. I would not be surprised if Florida State, runs the ball 30 or 40 times. I think they're going to try to dominate Cal. What do we know about West Coast?
What time is that game?
6 p.m. our time, I believe.
There's quite a few good games at that time. Tennessee, Oklahoma is going to be a really good game.
7 Eastern, 6 Central on ESPN2.
We'll probably have that on the tube in the living room.
You probably have seen this with Notre Dame. It's family weekend, parents weekend next week at Florida State. So the hotel rates went through the roof. We stayed last week with Alyssa at Alyssa's apartment. Her roommates were all gone, so it worked out very well. But the ticket prices were before the season for the Cal game were like $100 a piece. Now it is a sold out game, right? On paper, you go to StubHub and you watch the ticket prices drop like my investments. And they're now probably $40, $50, which is on StubHub or I think Florida State uses Vizio or some company like that. We'll see. I mean, it's funny. In a lot of ways, Florida State and Navarre are pretty much alike.
Struggling on offense.
I expect to see growth. I think Florida State will win this game. They're favored by 5.5. I think they'll cover. I think it'll be like the Auburn game. I think it'll be a one-touchdown win for the Noles.
I agree. Miami heading to South Florida. Will South Florida give them the same type of fight that they gave Alabama? I don't think so. Miami playing really well. We're all going with the Hurricanes on the road. Tennessee at Oklahoma. Wow, what a matchup here.
Yeah, Sid Norman.
We're all going with the Vols on the road.
Favored by 7.5, 7:30 Eastern kick on ABC, 6:30 our time.
Shout out to my good friend Tennessee Shanky, having a great season so far, being a Vols fan. Him and the First Lady of Tennessee football, Dorothy.
Tennessee's. People would say, well, who have they played?
Correct.
We'll see this weekend.
They put up 65 in the first half against Kent State the other night. Then they played, like I said, they played the cheerleaders the second half, and they kicked 2 field goals.
Really?
Yeah. No.
I think Tennessee will win by double digits.
We're all going with the Vols on the road. Iowa going to the Twin Cities to face off with Minnesota. Minnesota looked good last week. Joe and I going with the home team. Bob and Paul going with Iowa on the road. Michigan State at Boston College. Boston College playing well this year. We're all going with the Eagles at home. Not the Philadelphia Eagles, as they lost at home last night. UL Monroe heading out to Austin to take on the number 1 Texas Longhorns. Longhorns, I said.
Favored by 45.
45.
7 p.m. our time, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus, and I think that's because of who Texas is playing.
Baylor at Colorado. Colorado looked much better last week, but everybody looks good against Colorado State. They're facing Baylor. Joe going with Baylor on the road. The rest of us going with Colorado at home.
Colorado's favored by 1.5. That's not a bad pick for Paul.
And Kansas State at BYU playing really good. Probably playing the best football in the Big 12 right now. We're all going with Kansas State on the road, the Wildcats.
That's 9:30 our time, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN. There's a good one, Bill, that you didn't have on this sheet.
Who's that?
Utah at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State favored by 2.5.
Interesting.
4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. our time on Fox Network.
Most definitely. Yeah, I end up running out of space trying to figure out what games to pick or not, especially this week as the matchups are not as strong as they've been the last couple of weeks.
No.
But it's still fun to pick the games.
I mean, Georgia Tech's fully capable of upsetting Louisville.
Any surprise teams that you've seen so far on the season? Well, it's a surprise that Florida State is where they're at right now. But what I'm talking is on the opposite end of the spectrum. Who do you see out there right now that is kind of a surprise so far?
Well, I'm going to say Alabama. We just didn't know when Saban stepped down what we were going to find out. How the fan base was going to take in the new coach. Alabama had a number of transfers. 2 or 3 actually ended up at Florida State. They have yet to pan out, but transfers are transfers a tricky business.
It sure is.
It's a two-edged sword. You have somebody new coming in, and in Florida State's case, they lost so many players. They had 10 players drafted in the NFL, and you lose players like that. It certainly can affect continuity. Then you have transfers coming in. Florida State worked on. They went to a special place. I don't think it was Munson, Florida. They went to a camp as well, and Coach Norvell emphasized, getting to know your brother on the other side of the ball, because we're a team. Sometimes it takes time to gel. So
it does, and my surprise team, looking at some of the teams out there, in the records, Syracuse, they're undefeated through the first 3 weeks of the season. You got other teams out there. Kansas State, were you surprised at what they're doing, or you think that's where they were projected to be?
They've always been pretty solid.
How about USC?
Yeah,
playing tough in the Big Ten.
Lincoln Riley is a perfect fit.
Well, let's talk about. I just brought up the Pac-12 extended offers last week to 4 other teams to join the Pac-12 to maybe kickstart the Pac-12 again. Fresno State, Boise State, Colorado State, and I know I'm missing
San Diego State.
San Diego State.
Yeah.
So they've been extended offers, and I think that they've accepted them. And there's talks of some other moves now with those teams leaving. Maybe some other teams going into the Mountain West Conference as well to replace those teams.
I wasn't around then, but I imagine when the original Pac-12 got organized, that people saw these new teams like Oregon State and Wazoo and Washington State. They may have had the same ho-hum, as many people will say, with these new teams entering, but you never know. San Diego State's a team on the rise.
Yeah, notice they are all state teams.
Yeah.
But go back to Major League, and they can bring in California State Prison, I guess, as well. So make it back into the Pac-12. But so there's been surprise. Missouri, no surprise. Everybody expected to do what they're doing. Boston College playing stronger than what people expected. Texas, no surprise. Really not a whole lot of surprises, but I have to agree with you on Alabama. Nobody really knew with the change to Kalen DeBoer whether they were going to be continuing, not keeping it in neutral, but push the gas pedal forward, put it into drive.
I think you can say the same thing, Bill, about Michigan, too. I think Michigan, I don't know, they just look like a different team than.
Oh, you have 62 new players on your roster at Michigan. They had a lot of guys going to the NFL. They had a few transfer out, but
quarterback
and their coach leaves to go coach for the L.A. Chargers.
Yeah, L.A. Chargers.
Yeah, they're off to 2-0 start.
Take some of his staff with him, too.
Yeah. So, Michigan, I think we're wait and see on them. But I think it's going to come down to Oregon, USC, and Ohio State for the Big Ten title. But well, that's we're gonna wrap it up tonight because we got a show tomorrow night. We'll talk about some of the other stuff tomorrow night. We'll talk about former Navarre Raiders, where they're at now. We'll talk.
I do have a rant.
You do have a rant, so I'm not going to sign off yet. Seminole Bob, the floor is
If you're
yours.
ready to go to bed, I can.
No, the floor is yours, Seminole Bob.
Well, it was a wet one last Saturday with 11 a.m. Central and Tallahassee's on Eastern Time, 12 noon. We were going to start tailgating, and Kirsten had made breakfast for us, and and then we walk out the door and the heavens open up. So we go to the old Reliable. Now, I usually only eat Cracker Barrel.
Love Cracker Barrel.
When we go on road trips, right?
It's a road trip,
So I ate
right?
Thursday with you. We wake up and we go, what are we going to do for breakfast? Are we going to sit it? Are we going to they would not allow us to park on the intramural / practice field, lot 14. So you parked in a parking garage. And so your tailgate was a little bit bigger than these two tables in a parking garage. Not the same. So we decided to head Saturday morning to Cracker Barrel. I texted you a picture of my coffee cup. Guess where we went Sunday morning?
Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel. That's not my rant.
Same meal both days, or different meal?
I shocked the family and ordered off. I got a hamburger steak
for breakfast
with grits and macaroni and cheese.
I'm not much of a grits guy. I'm more of a hash browns crispy guy.
But my rant has to do with Florida State, and it ties into surprise teams. Before the season began, this stretch with Georgia Tech, Boston College, Memphis, and Cal was supposed to be our easiest stretch.
And that's scary.
SMU ahead, Notre Dame ahead, Clemson ahead, Clemson at home, Notre Dame's away, SMU's away.
You got Louisville on the
We
calendar.
have Miami at Miami.
Ooh.
And we have the Gators at home. Kind of a redeeming factor there. Thanksgiving weekend. But my surprise team besides Alabama is Florida State. I just would never have guessed.
So one going north and one going south.
Yeah, really the opposite way. Hang in there, Seminole fans. I think it'll be better. I don't know. At this point in the season, 0-3. If you change quarterbacks and you take DJ off, I want to say this very nicely. I mean, who cares, right? My fear is I don't think the freshman Luke, I can't pronounce his last name. Florida State goes after quarterbacks' names he can't pronounce. Luke, I think he'll stay. My fear is if Coach continues to go with
DJ,
you may see Brock enter the portal. And Florida State's already seeing decommits from next year's recruiting squad. So my rant is, Seminoles, get your act together. I think they will. I think the intangible is Coach Atkins. But as Coach says, Coach Edwards, that's why they play the game. So
well,
we'll
hopefully
see.
better times are ahead for the Seminoles, the Gators as well. I mean, NCAA football is better when Florida and Florida State are good teams, good programs. Hopefully they'll get it back.
If Napier makes it to the weekend and they beat Mississippi State at Mississippi State,
that's save his job.
That could save his job at least for a little bit. I don't know.
I really like Coach Napier when he was at Louisiana, Raging Cajuns. He had 25 wins his last 2 seasons. Not too many coaches could say they had 25 wins in 2 seasons, but he went from the Sun Belt into the frying pan in the SEC, and I think it was just a little bit too big a jump.
He's not a big level coach to coach in the SEC. He's over his head. Well, guess who hired him? I never want anybody to get fired. I know it's part of the game. I mean, we'll see. If they do fire him, obviously they're just going to name an interim, one of their existing coaches, and they'll go after a big splash in the offseason. Could be Coach O.
Would they even extend an offer to Coach Prime?
To who?
Deion Sanders.
No.
Or is there too much friction between those?
And I also thought about Urban going back. He may have burned bridges there with some of the boosters, but they're going to want the athletic director. What I hear from Gator fans is get rid of the athletic director.
And not the coach.
And he came in with very good credentials. And so since he hired Napier, it's kind of like the general manager.
2-for-1 deal.
Baseball. You blame him. Anyway, that's what's exciting about college football. And yes, we're getting to week 4 and week 5, but we're also getting closer to the MAC playing on Mondays or Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
That's what we'll have football 7 days a week.
I don't care if it's Holy Toledo. Holy Toledo won last week. There are some teams that are
Northern Illinois. Who would have thunk that?
Who would have thunk that?
Not I, said the fly.
Western Michigan the last couple of years has played better, made bowl games. They
got their first win last week against Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, you start out with Michigan,
Wisconsin,
and
Wisconsin, and Ohio State.
There you go. It's been a fun night, Bill Hamill.
It has, and it's only going to be less than 24 hours, and you'll get to see us again just down yonder to the west.
Yeah,
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Down the road.
And Bob and I will be there with not sure what coach and players are coming tomorrow night, but it's always a good time at Buffalo Wild Wings. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock right here on IrishBillSports.com. Irish Bills Sports live 944 on YouTube, and where it's always fun when we get to talk Navarre Raider football and with the players and coaches.
And come join us Friday night.
Raiders back home as they'll take on the Milton Panthers, and we'll be back up, weather permitting.
Yep.
We've had a lot of rain lately. In fact, just the other night, I think it was Monday night, I saw someone building an ark in their backyard.
Okay.
Off of 399. So that's how much rain we've been having. Luckily, one of my dogs is not left yet to enter the ark. So we're still good. But anyways, tomorrow night, Buffalo Wild Wings, Seminole Bob, Irish Bill, Paul Villanova, also known as Mr. Clean, will be joining us over at Buffalo Wild Wings.
And who knows what players. Every player If you don't like these two ugly mugs, I don't blame you. We love Navarre football. That's what's in our DNA. But the players have been Jimmy Walker, dynamite. Good times.
Good times. See,
we're going to have a good time
keep talking for
tomorrow
a second.
night at Buffalo Wild Wings. Join us at Buffalo Wild Wings or join our show, most certainly. Invite your friends. Invite your enemies. Just invite people who love Navarre football.
Most definitely. And I remember that. I used to love that. Dynamite. We won't play that. Maybe tomorrow night. But till tomorrow night, this is Irish Bill Seminole Bob from Culver's in Navarre. We hope you enjoyed the show this evening. Thank you, Randy and Honey Smith, for letting us come in to your place of business here in downtown Navarre, block and a half from the beautiful Navarre Beach. And we'd love being here on Tuesday nights. We love Wednesday nights as well. Join us tomorrow night. For Seminole Bob and Irish Bill, we're signing off till tomorrow night.
Good night, Navarre, and God bless.